Pretty cool. So I guess it's kind of like a horse, right? Or an antelope, yeah, because those are antlers. Yeah. Or horns, rather. Appears to have hooves and a tail. Pretty cool. It's also in some sort of fancy building or hall of said building. Near a courtyard, maybe. I like it. So this one appears to be made of glass. Sort of crystal-like substance. In the form of a snake or serpent type creature. Pretty cool. I like this one too. This one's just kind of like menacingly adorable, right? The pink and the black look really good together. Pretty cool. I like this one. Kind of looks like a church, like a cathedral, which would be a normal Orzhov take, but I like this one too. They all seem to be pretty cool. Kind of like a caterpillar, but kind of also like a leech or a lamprey kind of thing too. And it's got crazy spikes. Oh, its feet look like fingers. Those knuckles. I'm into it. Kind of surprised there's not like two of each. They're such a common part of the set, but I think this one's my least favorite. But still cool. So these are all of the rares that are white in some form or fashion. So we've already looked at academic probation as it is a lesson. Decided it is not very good, but still something you'd welcome to have in your board. Let's look at this one. Maybe a lore hold card. Doesn't synergize with the lore hold mechanic really, but it does reward you for going wide, I suppose. Making the 3/2s. And giving 3/2s double strike is pretty reasonable. Like this would be less good if you're making pests, obviously. You could also play it in Prismari, I suppose, but quad red is pretty hard to do. Because there are some large things in Prismari. Like their tokens are 4/4s, right? I mean, all of your attackers having double strike is incredibly powerful. Like you just have to play this card if you're lore hold, right? There's no reason not to play this. But if you're only one of the colors, I don't think you'd want this card. It's just quad of a color is just so much to ask. Trying to figure out if you'd want this if you're Mardu. Like, how many swamps can you have in your deck if you're playing this card? Not very many, I would assume. So maybe if you're Mardu, but your black is just a splash, you could still play this. And you would always play this if you're lore hold. I don't know how high of a take this is in pack 1, because it's so demanding of what you play it in. Like, you can't really just play this in Prismari or Silver Quill, so it's very constricting. It pigeonholes you for sure if you take this pack 1, your first pick. But it might be powerful enough to do that anyway. Maybe it'll depend on how good Lorehold is. Devastating Mastery. 6 mana sorcery, or you can pay it for 4. Okay, I think there's one of these in each color with an alternate casting cost, and something bad happens if you do it that way. Look, another quill. There's another one. Okay, so what happens if you pay it for 4? Pay for 4, they get to return 2 of the things that would otherwise be blown up. No matter what, it gets all of your stuff. So 6 for everything, or 4 for everything minus their best 2 cards. So I guess in a way, on an empty board, or like say they just have 2 creatures or whatever, you can kind of consider this as like a 4 mana bounce your 2 creatures, right? which is still pretty good. So it's not so much like a drawback, it's just a less effective version of the card. But if you have parity on board with your opponent, or are slightly behind, this probably isn't going to be very good at 4. Because they will have things to replay and you will probably not. So most of the time I think you're going to want to cast this for 6, which means you can't really splash it. Like if you're splashing it and only expecting to ever pay the 4 part, it's probably not good enough. Because this is significantly worse than the full effect. Like, even if you're just straight black-white, like, would you want to cast this card? You kind of almost need to be white splashing your black, right? Or white splashing your red. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to take this one very highly, but the format, maybe because the format does seem to be slow and clunky, there maybe will be a lot of stalemates, and the 6 mana part will be really good, but it's also kind of a spell-based format. This doesn't answer like powerful spells they play necessarily. We'll have to see on that one. That casting cost is pretty intimidating. We have a lot of really intense casting costs here. Okay, so this card looks busted to me. You really only need like one thing to die and maybe have another way to get tokens for this card to start being good. And you certainly have, you know, 10 to 16 creatures in your deck, I would assume, that can die. The fact that this makes 3/2 flyers is kind of nutty. 3/2 flyer and 2/1 flyer are substantially different. It's a huge difference in clock, right? 7 turns or 10 turns, plus the things it trades with. There are a lot of 3 toughness flyers, I think I remember. Like 2 flyers that looked reasonable, 1 in black, 1 in white at common, that were 4 mana 2/3 flyers. So that means that these can trade with cards like that. Like your Inklings trade with them then. Again, you can't really splash this card into your Witherbloom or Lorehold deck. Maybe in Witherbloom, if Witherbloom has enough mana fix to go get the swamps. Maybe. Actually, there's a colorless. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's powerful enough that you would play it, though. Especially since Witherbloom already has the wanting creatures to die thing going on. I don't know. But yeah, obviously insane if you're just Silverquill. For sure. Is it better than the Lorehold one? Because this is a cycle, apparently. 4 mana. Hybrid power thing. They can be kind of scary first picks, right? You just don't want to put yourself that narrow into an option. Yeah, I don't know. I still think I'd first pick these. Just try to get there. Be okay with abandoning them if you get cut off. Yeah, I don't know what pick you're supposed, like how powerful the card needs to be. At which pick of the draft do you decide to just go in for the guild? Or how hard do you try to stay into, you know, the option of being 2 guilds? Either of 2 guilds, rather. This is PV's invitational card, right? Yeah. So it's a 3 mana 3/1 flyer. Okay, that's not bad. ETBs. You look at their hand, you exile a non-land. Okay, and then it just taxes a card in their hand for 2, and you get to know about it. Interesting. So it doesn't matter if this leaves play either. It just gets that card taxed for 2, no matter what. Wow, this card's really interesting. I love the design on this. Well done, for sure. Yeah, this card's cool. I mean, you just always play this if you're white. There's no reason not to play this. It's not a bomb, it's just incredibly efficient card. It's a threat and interaction and information. Yeah, I like this card a lot. Probably pretty cool and constructed too. We already looked at this as an MDFC last night. So the white part was very niche application, and the red part is just better than average creature at 2. Yeah, Elite Spellbinders, Brazen Borrow, and white. It's pretty solid. I like this card a lot, the Spellbinder. It's pretty awesome. I bet that's going to get play in like white Hate Bear decks in whatever format. Pioneer, Modern, maybe Legacy. Okay, Light Scribe. How you doing, Rojamur? So this is a mono-white Magecraft creature. Whenever you Magecraft, you get all of your guys +1/+1 until end of turn, okay? Pretty reasonable effect, especially if you're doing it in addition to, like, say the instant or sorcery you're triggering this with also pumps the team. There was one at 4 mana in white that does that, so it would become +2 to the team. There are also ways to get multiple Magecraft triggers off of only a couple cards, so if you can do that, it's pretty insane. But if you're not doing those broken things, it's just going to be, you know, slightly better than average Grizzly Bear. Hey, how's it going, Jamaki? Doing the rares and mythics of this set. We did everything else last night. Yeah, I wouldn't pick this super high, I don't think, but it is good. It's just for it to be bomby, you really need to go deep on the Magecraft trigger. But there is a white card that can do that. And the white card that does that also pumps the team with counters, I believe, so it's an uncommon. That would be a very synergistic card to build with for this one. So here's one of the commands. Red-white command. This one's an instant. I don't think they're all instants. Let's see, yeah, 2 of them are sorcery, and 1 is instant. Let's just look at them all here. So we get a 3/2 spirit at instant speed. That's pretty good as a combat trick. Or on their end of turn as a new attacker that they didn't know about. We get 1/0 the team and indestructible haste. Okay, so that 1/0 the team could work with the white rare I was just talking about, in that it would give 2, like +2/+1 that turn, which could be pretty significant. And the next ability is 3 to anything, and we gain 3. Okay, so that's Lightning Helix, also very good. So these first 3 are all really good. Sacrifice a permanent to draw 2. This one's fine. So assuming one of these 3 doesn't really do much, like you're just looking at the 5 mana and the last ability, it replaces itself with this one, right? You sack a land and this is 2 cards, you get your 2 cards back. So if you choose this mode, you like break even on card advantage, and then whatever else you do here is what you're getting as gravy. Plus you get like the fix of trading a land and this for 2 new cards, right? Yeah, this card's great. I definitely would first pick this. It's just definitely powerful enough to want to try to build into red-white. You can even splash it in your Prismari or Silverquill decks pretty easily. Like when you want to cast your 5-drop, it's not a lot to ask to have, you know, your splash 3rd color, be it either red or white here. I think this card's great. You cannot do the same one more than once, no, strategist. Light Scribe looks super strong to you, the white card. Yeah. I think it's gonna be just above average basically every time, and then to make it really, really good, you need to put a lot of work into it to get the Magecraft triggers. But there's a specific white card I was thinking of that's an uncommon that would be particularly effective with it. I'll go ahead and show that card here. White. Strixhaven, uncommon. This card here. So this card seems really bonkers with the 2-mana rare, because if you play this and one other spell, you get 3 Magecraft triggers, and then this is putting counters on the creatures and giving them vigilance, and then if you play this, so if you have the rare already in play an instant and then that instant, all of your creatures get +3/+3, and 2 other creatures get +1/+1 counters and vigilance. And that just, it doesn't seem that hard to set that up. You just need a few creatures in play and play two instants, right? So that's what I'd be trying to do if I were drafting around this card, for sure. Trying to get these. I kind of want to look at the rest of the commands, and then we'll go back to the white rares. So we decided Lorehold is pretty good. The Lorehold command's pretty good. Prismari command says 3 mana instant. Okay. We get Shock. Draw 2, discard 2. Make a treasure and Shatter. So I don't think Shatter is very good in this. There are only 17 total enchantments and artifacts. The common artifacts are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So I could see really wanting to shatter the Cogwork Archivist. It's huge. It's a 4/5, which we've decided is just gigantic in this format. I mean, I guess you could maybe want to blow up their Mana Rock if it was tapped already. This equipment would be really good to blow up for sure, but it's a rare. I mean, maybe you'd probably want to blow up the boots. So there are a couple targets, but not very many. So this part doesn't seem insane to me. The treasure does seem very synergistic with what Prismari is trying to do. They're trying to ramp into really obscene instants and sorceries at like 7 and 8 mana, I think. Plus they have a little bit of treasure synergy, I believe. Like a little bit of artifact stuff going on. So I could see that being slightly better than it looks, the third mode. I mean, the first 2 modes are just completely reasonable. This one is much more efficient at 3 mana, and kind of the things it does are just cheap little efficient things. There's nowhere near the power level of the red-white one, but it is very good for the reasons I just said, the efficiency and the interaction of like this one. The card fix of this one. It seems like it might be hard to get a 2-for-1 of this, but like 2 damage to something and a treasure isn't really a 2-for-1. This actually loses you a card. But it is very efficient. Easy to play. Triggers Magecraft, obviously. I think I like the red-white one slightly more, though. Just in terms of power level. So green-blue, also instant. We get bounce a creature or planeswalker. Oh, this is 3 mana instant as well. Counter an artifact or enchantment, which we've decided isn't very good. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature, so it could be good. Oh, I thought for some reason there was going to be fight at the end. And then shuffle up to 3 cards. Okay, so the shuffle up to 3 cards one, there are graveyard interactions in this format. There are Prismari wants to have sorceries in their yard, instant sorceries in their yard, so you could stop that, but then you're putting the powerful thing back in their library. You could just use it on yourself to just put your power cards back in the end game. But the problem, a lot of the Lorehold stuff benefits them when you do this to them. So I don't know. But again, this one's similar to the Prismari one and just cheap and efficient. I just don't think mode 2 is very reasonable. And mode 4 also not very good. So I think I like this one the least of the 3 I've looked at. But it's still fine. But I wouldn't be like super excited to slam first pick this. Like the other 2 are much more like that than this one. But yeah, it's gonna be good. I mean, bounce their creature, put 2 on yours. Like that's just solid, right? You just always play it. Even if the card was just mode 1 and 3 all the time, you would just 100% always play this card. So I can't be too hard on it. It's just not a bomb. So black-white. This one's sorcery at 4. No, this is just the overlay for the set review. Like my game overlay is that one. So sorcery 3/3 flying is very powerful. Too bad that part's not instant, but even just like first maining and +2/+3 flying is usually a huge deal. It's usually like Lava Axe, right? Like say you're just putting it on a bear. I guess we assume that most of our creatures are kind of small if we're in black-white. It seems like most of the creatures are small. But still, that's like, you know, Lava Axe out of nowhere usually. Or make them chump with a fly or whatever, you know. Then the second one is return a creature CMC 2 or less to the battlefield. Okay, that's not bad, and we know that they have a lot of good 2-mana creatures. But you do need to line that part up. It's not just going to be play this on 4 and expect that to work. But it could. Like say you go bear on 2, bear-like thing on 3, and then they killed the bear, you traded off the bear, and then you get to fly the other thing. So you fly the other thing, put your bear back in. So that just seems fine in some scenarios, but it's not always going to play out like that. We get target player draws and loses, so you could kill them if they're on 1. Usually you're just going to draw a card off that one. And then Edict. I mean, it seems good. I don't like it as much as the red-white one. I think the blue-red one's probably better too. Maybe not. All of these seem good though. All the modes seem good. I don't know which combination is the best to get the value, but I like this one. Yeah, I don't know how to rank it in terms of the other ones, but I think you probably first pick this. Hey, Trapped, what's going on? We've only done a little bit of white cards, and once we got to Lorehold, we moved over to do all the commands together, and then I'm going back to white. Witherbloom, another sorcery. This one's 2 mana, okay. So this one's going to be the least powerful, probably. Target player mills 3, then you return a land from graveyard to hand. Okay, so it's kind of like draw land, plus some synergy for graveyard stuff. Destroy a non-creature, non-land. So what is that targeting in this format? Like, these are the artifacts and enchantments. So it can kill Campus Guide. It can kill Excavated Wall. No, wait, non-creature. It can't kill these. What does this even target? Is it killing treasures? It can kill Detention Vortex. But Detention Vortex, you can kill that with 3 mana. It can kill Poet's Quill. It can kill Poet's Quill. It can kill Lorehold Excavation. Okay, that's actually pretty reasonable. This card's, I think, going to be a beating. Okay, so that's the most relevant card I see for this to kill. And then maybe like Team Pennant or Zephyr Boots. Also reasonable things. So it's like these 3 cards. Maybe the rare. But that's it. I don't know, it's just kind of so narrow, right? And then the third one is target creature gets -3/-1. Okay, that's fine. That might be a kill spell, but it can't be a combat trick though because it's sorcery. I mean, I guess if they have a 4/4 and you have a 3/3, you can use this mode to let your 3/3 attack that turn. It just kind of underwhelming if it's not a kill spell. And then 2-point drain. Wow, all 3 of these modes, or all 4 of these modes suck. In terms of like wanting to be worth a card. Yeah, narrow on a flex card is, or like on a versatility card is usually fine. It's just, it's so much narrow, right? I don't think I first picked this one. They have the, why are you not excited about the set? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't think this one is good enough to first pick. Like, you play it if you're black green because of the versatility, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I also don't know how good the mill 3 is. It almost seems like the Lorehold's the school that wants that ability. Yeah, you think the set is underwhelming in terms of power level? I think the creatures are underwhelming. But, like, not necessarily their abilities, it's their stats that are underwhelming. Some of the abilities I think are going to be incredibly powerful. Like, I think Quintorius is going to get out of control. The elephant dude. Just making 3/2s like every turn. Or 4/2s rather. Okay, so let's go back to white. We made it to Lorehold command, okay. So we reviewed this MDFC last night, and I remember thinking it's really good. Yeah, the white part you need to be wide for it to be good. The red part's just good all the time. But you would play this in your Silver Quill, for sure. The white part by itself. You definitely would, right? It's a little bad on the vanilla by itself, but all you really need is another creature or two, and it starts getting a pretty decent amount of value. For sure. Yeah, you just play this if you're white. And then the red part is obviously you just play this if you're red as well. So this card is great. Scroll Wielder. Okay, we haven't seen this one yet. Instant and sorcery spells you control have a lifelink. Okay, so there are a few red burn spells. There's the 5 mana sorcery that hits creatures and tramples over. Yeah, about the black-green command, I agree. Seems kind of compared to the other ones. So there's also a 4 damage to a creature at instant and 3 damage to anything at sorcery. So they're 2 commons and an uncommon burn spells. So it's not irrelevant, this text here. There's probably a couple others that I'm not thinking of. Okay, so what's the next ability? At the beginning of your upkeep, exile an instant or sorcery at random. Let me cast it. So no matter what, the card gets exiled, so that triggers Lorehold stuff just from being in play if you have instants and sorceries. Like if you have Quintorius on 5 after playing this, on your 6th upkeep, it will just this ability will just make you a 3/2, assuming you have an instant sorcery. Okay. You can also cast it this turn, or its mana, at its normal speed. And if it would be put into your graveyard, you exile it instead. So that's a replacement effect. That doesn't trigger the Lorehold thing again. When it would try to go to the yard from being resolved, it just instead goes to exile. That doesn't count for Lorehold, but the first part does. It's kind of a bummer that, say you don't want to cast the card, you just are eating up your yard without the second part value. Like you can't opt to not do this part, but that's probably okay with how often you want to be triggering the Lorehold stuff anyway, I think. Like there are at least 3 or 4 cards that reward you for triggering this ability. These stats are kind of unimpressive again with the creature stats. You really need to rely on the synergies for this card to do stuff. It's not just going to be very impressive as a 4-mana 2/4. Whereas in the past, lots of creatures do both things. They're like good statted and they have cool abilities. Whereas this set seems to be more like the just cool abilities part. Which is fine. You just have to like leverage the synergies, bank on powerful sorceries and instants. I mean, that's what the set's trying to do, right? So yeah, this is a very synergy card. You're gonna have to kind of go deep to make this one good, but I don't think it will be that hard to do. I'm not sure how highly you take this. It seems like you'd take an efficient 1 mana or 1 color card over this in pack 1. Pick one. But I do like the design. It'll be fun to try to build around this one. And we looked at this last night. The 2/3 side is good but unimpressive, and the back side is very impressive but expensive. Seems good though. Or fine, I mean. You probably don't have to first pick that. Like there's probably a better card in the pack, in a lot of packs. Like this probably isn't a slam first, whereas like this one's a slam first. This one I think is a slam first. Semester's End. Sir Mix-a-Lot, the MTG set. Okay, so 4 mana instant. Exile any number of my creatures or planeswalkers. Beginning of the next end step, I get all of them back, or their owner does. Each come back with a +1/+1 counter or a loyalty counter. Okay. So this could be good if you have good ETBs, or it could be good against removal, I guess. It's not really that good against like spot removal. Kind of seems like you need good ETBs to want this card. I don't know if it's just good enough as it's... I mean, I guess it does technically like lord your whole team if you want, assuming you're not trying to lord your tokens, because that doesn't work. So you can use this to just like blink all your guys on their turn, maybe after you like get some free chump blocks or something, and then all your guys will be lorded for your next turn. maybe you got to blow them out a little bit because they tried to use a combat trick as well, but like, I don't know, this card just seems fine to me. It doesn't seem great. It just seems fine. Like, I'm not like slamming first thing this and going, oh my god, my deck's insane. You know, it's just it does a good thing, but nothing super incredible unless your opponent is wrathing you. But yeah, it seems pretty easy to get the value out of this for 4 mana, so you'd play this card, I guess. Assuming you have creatures that aren't tokens. But it does seem kind of clunky, though. Like, it's not just something you're, like, excited to play early in the game to, like, lord a creature or two, right? Like, how many creatures do you have to have in play before you want to play it? You think it's just bad? It might be. 4 is a lot. Like, that's why, once I started thinking about it, I was like, the best thing to do with this in most games is just going to be, like, lord your creatures. So, like, how many creatures do you need to have in play to want to lord your creatures? And it doesn't even lord them, like, the same turn. You can't, like, draw this off the top, attack, and, you know, get +1 counters on your attackers. You have to wait a turn. Yeah, maybe it's just weak. I don't know. But I don't think that there are very many packs where you'd first pick this. Right? Yeah, that's what I was saying. You can use it to save chumpers. So, like, I think ideally the way is going to be, like, get a couple chumps in, and then blink your whole team, and then you get better attackers on the following turn, plus, you know, the 2 free chumps or whatever you got out of it. Which I think is good enough, but that's not going to be, like, how it lines up every game, and I think you need a lot of creatures, right? You need a lot of creatures in your deck to want this. Like, actual creature cards. And there are a lot of tokens in this set, so I don't know. This one's kind of an iffy one. We already looked at this one, but man, this guy's busted. So cheap and efficient. Every creature for the rest of the game is going to get lorded if you want. Just a very solid card. I love that it can attack and put counters the same turn. The other side is also good. A little bit more confusing of a card. But yeah, this one can either buff your dudes or shoot their dudes. Draw cards off your little things. Very interesting card. I don't think there's a way to give it Death Touch. Yeah, you're right. This Shyly, whatever, Dean of Radiance could be very insane with Semester's End for sure. But 2 rares. This does get tokens, the Shyly, so like if there's a way to put a whole bunch of tokens in play, like say Dramatic Finale with a bunch of your guys dying. Oh no, this is when 1 or more. But regardless, it doesn't take synergy to make this one good. This one's just going to be good all the time. This one requires some work. We already looked at the command. Pretty good. Let's see this one. Okay, 3-2 for 2. And that's about it. This gets slightly better in BO3. But I mean, you just play a vanilla 3-2, right? I think. Especially since the stats are so bad in this format. I mean, I guess if you play this on turn 2 and you know what both of their colors are, you just name like maybe the best common in their school or something like that. Yeah, this was like what Papa Taco just said. Like on turn 2, you just name like the best common for that opponent. That's a good question. Yeah, Jamaki, I don't really know. We can look for those. Like maybe as they come up, we point them out. But we looked at all the commons and uncommons last night, so I'm sure a lot of the ETBs are going to be that. I know there's a common in white that when it's a 5-mana common, when it ETBs you get like Raise Dead for 3 or less CMC. So we get that again. That's like an easy one to pull off in white. But yeah, with this card, yeah, I mean you play it, but you don't take it high, of course, because this ability is very, very niche. You'd be very lucky to get this to trigger. You could, I mean, you could name like the card that kills it, right? Like if they're red, you name like the common red removal spell that kills this. That way, if they do have 2 in their deck, you know, that you'll get the value. Whereas if you name like a different common that they might have 2 of, then they use the cheap common to kill this, and then they get the their card unlocked without giving you the value. There's 1-for-1 with it. So you choose the thing that 1-for-1's with it, and then you get your guaranteed value, right? Well, not guaranteed, but you force them to play into that little game. We've already looked at this as it is a learn card. I liked this one a lot. One of the better learn cards, I thought. 1/3 flying for 2, so that's all right. It's like a Pegasus or whatever. It also has the creature type Spirit, which is good for lore hold. But this is kind of a constructed thing, right? So I'm assuming if your opponent had something really good for the ETB, they'd figure out a way to wait for 2 mana. I mean, obviously you're going to get people really hard on Arena that don't read the card, but like you're definitely going to get someone with this without them reading it. Because it just counters it, you know? It doesn't like not let them pay the card if they'd have paid to. They get the card and then their thing just doesn't work. So there's going to be some feel bads with this one for sure. But is it a card you want to draft and put in your deck? It's fine. But it's not something you seek out. This is a constructed card for sure. But again, it is a flying spirit at 2 mana. And I think these stats are actually going to be reasonable. So, I mean, you do play this card, you just don't take it very high. If you're Lorehold, I mean. And you might want it in Silverquill too as just a cheap, efficient flyer, because Silverquill is trying to, you know, make Baneslayers with counters. Like, they're just buffing up all their creatures. Build a Baneslayer kind of stuff. So maybe this is a good body to put stuff on. It's just a cheap, efficient flyer. But who knows? This drawback will actually probably hurt you in that deck, right? I don't know. Actually, the ones I'm thinking about now are like death triggers, aren't they? The ones that put the creatures that put counters on stuff. But yeah. Vanishing Verse. Okay. There are a lot of gold cards in this. All of the tokens are gold. The school mascots. Let me read your comment about semesters. Which one's semesters? This one? Oh yeah, this turns off the deck. I don't know what the 2-mana single type lord is. Look at this rare that shuts up our imaginary semesters deck. So I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't know how to use it doesn't seem like there's a multicolor search function on Scryfall. Like when I look at these advanced searches, I don't know how to do just multicolor. Like you can do just white-red multicolor, but I don't know how to do all the multicolor cards together. I didn't see a way to do that. I looked through all of the criteria here. Certainly there's a way to do it, but whatever. I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, this one's kind of iffy. You certainly don't first pick this card, right? Maybe you do. Maybe it's just a kill spell for like more than half the creatures, or about half the creatures. Is that good enough? I don't know. It's also kind of pigeonholing you into black-white on an early pick. That doesn't... kind of seems like the card I'd rather try to wheel and figure out if I'm already in Silverquill. I don't think it's really that bad of a signal to send either. I just don't think this card is very powerful. I guess the Planeswalkers are monocolor, so it's an out to bomby mythics maybe, but the dragons are multicolored. Those flying myth bombs. I don't know. This card's not very good. It's fine, but it's not good. 3 mana, 3/3 Vigilance Trample. When it hits a player, you can get a creature back to the battlefield where XCMC is the damage it dealt. Okay. Yeah, I agree. You get that kill spell when it wheels. Or, you know, pick 5 or something in pack 3 when you're already, you know, your Silverquill or something. It just seems like a lot of like the good creatures that you're gonna want to kill that are on the battlefield are gonna be gold. Like the uncommon. I'm calling them star pupils in my head, but there's already a card that's called that. But like there's like an uncommon legendary creature in each school. and I don't know, they have like powerful abilities, and those are the kind of creatures you want to kill and play, right? Not their 2-mana bear. And some of the 2-mana bears are gold, right? Like, I don't know, I'd have to look at the numbers on that card to know how highly to take it. It doesn't seem like you'd take it very high, but this card seems pretty solid. It's not going to do anything too insane, but, well, maybe it will if you have the Lorehold triggers, right? Because this definitely triggers the Lorehold stuff. It just seems hard to get a tremendous amount of value out of it, getting like over and over and over cheap things. But maybe there's a really cheap creature that can put itself in the yard, or make sure you get value out of it quickly and then do it again. It's probably hard to get this thing over and over and again too. It's only a 3/3. But it is incredibly efficient at 3. Like 3-mana Vigilance Trample 3/3 is very solid, just that. So this is gravy, right? Yeah, I don't know how aggro Lorehold is either. It seems more mid-range. Mid-range value town kind of stuff. Like, I'm definitely going to build around Quintorius, try and stop me. The card seems so fun. Okay, so let's look at the blue rares. Is there a run amok? There's a +3/+1 trample at 3 that I think also has learn. Okay, so the blue rares, we got a Magecraft card. Whenever you Magecraft, draw a card. Okay, that's pretty simple and straightforward. Seems insane. 4 for a 2/2 is kind of rough in that it's going to be difficult to play this and get the value right away. But you should probably try and wait until you can at least cast one thing. So I guess if you take this early, you're going to need to prioritize 1 and 2 mana spells. Because I would just hate, like, this. I mean, this is a bomb if you can protect it and draw off it a little bit, right? You build your deck correctly, this is certainly bomb level. But it is very fragile. I didn't really remember seeing very many blue cards that were like counter spells that could protect this, or, you know, like little like hexproof instant kind of things. I remember seeing cards like that. There was like the counterspell creatures, oh, there was like a negate that counters instant or sorcery, so that could protect this from some things for sure. It's also a cheap Magecraft trigger, so it would turn into draw card counterspell as well. Yeah, this card seems very good. Especially since Prismari is trying to be the instant sorcery matters deck, I think. So this is a very, very solid Prismari card. And probably decent in Quandrix, but not as busted, maybe. I just have a feeling you're going to have more creatures in your green deck than in your red-blue deck. I don't know if they're red creatures that give unblockable too. You can open Scryfall yourself, Jacob, and the advanced search is pretty sweet in that you can just put text in here. So you can just type unblockable, and then make sure your set is Strixhaven, and then all the cards that say unblockable will come up. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you just always take this early, right? It's just very powerful. I would anyway. I love drawing cards. We've already looked at this one. The green side is very good. Well, efficient. And then solid if you're on the 8 land plan. But it's going to be solid no matter what, just as a 3-mana 3/3. And then the blue card is kind of not very good, but is kind of niche application. I guess, like, you could have, like, one huge thing and a bunch of tokens, and this card's insane. It's a lot to set up, but green-blue could certainly do it. Okay, red-blue. Red-blue X. Exile the top X cards of your library. So for each land you get a treasure, for each blue card you get a card, for each red card you get 1 to opponent. Unfortunately it's not 1 to anything, that would be much better. I like this art a lot. I think that's like the black-red demon from the black-red. Why is there a black-red card? But there is from that card. This is like some sort of weird brain geyser, right? The only cards you keep are the blue ones. And you don't get land for land, but you get kinda land in Lotus Petals. This seems like maybe a little too A little too clunky to be great. I don't know, like, how much mana are we dumping into this thing? So let's say we pay 7 for this, so X is 5. We reveal 2 land, a blue card, and 2 red cards. We get treasure, draw a card. Oh, we don't get that blue card, we just get a random new card. Okay. Yeah, so we get treasure, draw a card, shock you for 7 mana. Treasure, shock you, draw a card. I don't know, it doesn't sound that good for 7. Like, I mean, if it was like 4 blue cards and a red card, it's like draw 4, ping you, that's fine. So maybe we're splashing this in like our mono blue deck, basically. Then it becomes like much better drawing cards. Still not really that crazy though. You're still gonna get your treasures most of the time. Yeah, I don't know, I'm not a fan of this one. I guess maybe it could be really good in like a Quandrix deck off the splash, because Quandrix seems to be able to make like a tremendous amount of mana. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not real big on this one. This seems like a weird teamer build around like Timmy type deck card. I don't think it's something you just play because it's efficient, because it's not. It's certainly not efficient. Double major. 2 mana instant. Yeah, getting a treasure and 4 like yeah, like there's so many bad hits off of that X spell for sure. But like Prismari also might want the treasure. That's another point. Like maybe just hitting 3 treasure and a damage is like awesome for them. Who knows? But I'm not a fan of it. But it could, you know, they seem to be all in on the big instants and sorceries. So maybe I'm wrong. So this one is this one's fork a creature on the stack. Okay. I don't like paying 2 more for my creatures. I guess if you had like some really powerful 3 and 4 mana creatures, you might want this. Some of them are legendary, right? Oh, it doesn't do the legendary thing. Okay, so there are probably certain creatures that would make you want to put this in your deck, but I think overall it's not very good, and you probably don't want to be playing this most of the time. I wish you could copy their creatures on the stack. That would be so cool. Like instant speed a creature off the stack, basically. Yeah, I think this card's playable, it's just not very good. But there are certain ways to make it powerful if the creatures you're copying are very good. Like maybe copying, there's certain legends that maybe if you copy them, they just are really busted to have 2 of the effect kind of thing. But you can look through the cards yourself and decide if there's a combination of creatures you'd want to play with it. Like copying this guy, for example, having 2 of this could be really insane. But getting that to line up is a lot to ask, right? I don't know. I guess you can argue that it's a way to make a creature that's also a Magecraft trigger. So if you have enough creatures in your deck, it's kind of like still a creature, but it's also Magecraft. I don't know. Maybe I'm putting too much thought into it. We looked at Dream Strix as a learn card last night, and I really like this one a lot. I would probably first pick this in a lot of packs, which is really good value. Easy to cast. It's a win con. 7 mana in the air clock. They have to answer it. When they do, you get your thing back. I like it. Trades with most of the flyers. This is part of the red-blue of the 4 mana cycle, hybrid cycle. Okay, so this one's a creature. It's 4/4. Whenever you Magecraft, choose a creature you control. Till end of turn, if it would leave the battlefield, you exile it instead of whatever. And when you exile it, you get a 4/4. So Magecraft, put an effect on your guy. When you exile the guy, or basically just when the guy leaves the battlefield, you get a 4/4. But notably, you can put multiple effects on the same creature. You can also... No, it's just creature you control, okay. Is anyone else getting He-Man vibes out of this this cat? Like riding this cat, it looks a lot like Skeletor or He-Man's cat to me. Also, like, that's a fancy looking orc, right? Anyway, This card seems pretty solid. Like, very difficult to set up for super amounts of value, but you should be able to get a little bit of value no matter what. At the very least, it's a 4-mana 4/4. But again, I don't like choosing these cards first. I don't like picking cards that say I have to be this guild basically on the very first pick. And you kind of really need to go in on the Magecraft stuff, right? How are you getting your guys to leave the battlefield? Are you playing like a bounce spell with this? Because the bounce spell is both parts of it. Like it does the Magecraft and it's the way for the creature to leave the battlefield. Maybe. There's also like the 1-mana Lorehold card. It's like red or white, I think. And it's like +1/0 the creature when it leaves the battlefield. You get a 3/2 or something. So you could like stack those kind of cards together and just get a ton of value off of that little synergy. But this card looks like it requires some work. I don't think it's super high pick, but it's good. You just kind of have to like build around it a little bit. Okay, so you can opt to not pay the X. If you do that, it's just 3 cards. They get 2 treasure and scry 2. That's not quite a card of value, but it kind of is. Guess it's about a card of value. 2 mana and scry 2. Yeah, I don't know how to evaluate that much value. Maybe it's more than a card. Or you can just use this. So like if you want to draw your 3 cards and not have them get cards, you have to pay 6. If you want to draw more than 3 cards, you have to pay 7. I mean, I guess both the blue schools seem to be going big. So if you're playing blue, it looks like you're trying to ramp up to big things no matter what. So maybe this is a good big thing to ramp into. So you'd want to cast it for at least 7, I would think. But I don't know, 7 to draw 4 is not bad. Especially if you have the means to get there quickly and reliably. I don't think this is like an early take bomb though. It's just like a card that's good in the deck that it's good in. Which I don't know if I want to be building that deck in the first part of the format. It seems like you just get run over by aggro if you're trying to build the go big deck early without knowing exactly how to build it and stop the aggro decks, you know? Usually it's good to start out aggro in a format. We already looked at this as MDFC. I liked the blue side a lot more than the green side. Okay, here's the Simic version, the Quandrix version of the 4-mana hybrid card. This one is also a creature, 2/2. And you get a fractal for the cards in your hand, okay? So if you're on the draw on turn 4, if you've played a 2-drop and a 3-drop and this, I think you get a 4/4 on turn 4. Right, because the lands you drop take away your draw steps for the first 4 draw steps, right? So say you have 7 cards. The 4 lands you've played are your 4 draw steps. And then you've played this and 2 other creatures, so you have 4 cards left. So if you're on the play and you do that, you get a 3/3. You get a 2/2 and a 3/3 on turn 4. So if you're not combining this with card draw, or if you're like, the other line would be to choose not to play things on turn 2 and 3. Or maybe you're playing like cantrips instead, like things that just replace themselves right away, so you still have those cards. So maybe you could get a 5/5 or a 6/6 on turn 4 with this if you play slightly differently. Or you could play the previous rare, the one we just looked at, and just play this in the end game after drawing 7 cards or whatever, as just like a really good win con in the end game for that kind of deck. But that seems a little Magic Christmas Land, right? You just want this card to be efficient at all times. I think a lot of times it's just going to be making like a 2/2 or a 3/3, maybe even less. You could basically always get a 1/1 or a 2/2 out of it just by like sandbagging your lands, right? But I don't know. It seems good, but not great. It seems like you could make it great with a little bit of work. I do like that it makes specifically the fractals. I mean, I know that's what the thing is, what the school is doing. I'm just saying because it lines up like so well with, there's a common called biomathematician that lords your fractals. So like I could see taking this early and then just grabbing as many of those as you can get. But yeah, this is like low tier good card, I think. It's not great, but it's good. Multiple choice. Blue X. Oh god. So you don't get like all of the effects when you scale up. You just, oh okay, you do at 4, okay. So 1, 2, and 3 do unique things. 4 gives you all of them. And 5 doesn't matter, right? FX is 3. Yeah, so 5 doesn't matter. So you're never casting this for more than 5 mana. Oh, unless you want some sort of trigger for the size of your spell, which is possible, I suppose. So let's see here. At X3, we're paying 4 for a 4/4. That's pretty good. So it's like better than Hill Giant no matter what at 4 mana. And then for 3 mana, they just choose a creature to bounce. That doesn't seem that awesome. It seems okay, but not great. Scry 1, draw a card for 2 mana. That's okay as well. I don't really like this one. I like the first one and third one. And then for 5 mana, getting all of these, yeah, that seems great. I think I would take this card highly. Because it's not that hard to get to 5, and that is a lot for 5 mana, all of these things. Because you're making a threat, they're losing a blocker, and you get fixed for the next interaction. Yeah, this card's great. I like this one a lot. Seems like you don't want to cast it for 3, but maybe you do. Sometimes, just for tempo. But I could see casting it for 2 or 4 or 5. We've already looked at these commands. We've already looked at this as a lesson. Okay, so this is control magic for only small creatures. But with the stats... Oh, it's mana value, it's not power. I was thinking it was power for some reason. This card's okay, but not amazing. It is a 2-for-1. There are certainly some powerful 3 mana creatures in this. I think you should probably just main deck this all the time. If you can meet this casting cost requirement. I probably wouldn't take it super early though. I think this is kind of more of like a 3rd or 4th pick kind of card. Like once you realize the person to your right doesn't want it, maybe. I don't think I like slamming this first pick or anything. It's not that good. It's good, but it's not that good. We've looked at these as MDFCs. Okay, let's go over to black. Baleful Mastery. Oh, this is the alternate mode casting cost card. Okay, so 4 for exile a creature or planeswalker at instant. Okay, so it's like almost Vraska's Contempt. And then you can pay 2 and they get card. Okay, so in a pinch, if you're about to die or whatever, if you just need to get the thing off the table, you can give them a card. I'm into this. Is it good enough to first pick? Maybe. Maybe. It's probably better than most commons, right? It's gotta be better than most commons. There's certainly some uncommons you would take over this, but this is a pretty good card. Is there a planeswalker for 3 or less in this set? I think so, yeah. There are a flip. There's like a modal mythic. Here. The red side is 3, the blue side is 5. So this card is totally Knight of Autumn, right? It's a 3 mana 2/1 that you get 1 of 3 options. So what are these 3 options we have to choose from? Also Vampire Warlock, cool. So metal. So we get a Pest, or we get draw card, lose a life, or we get XL their yard. Or you could XL your yard for lore hold trigger if you really wanted to. So do you want a 3-mana 2/1 that gives you a pest? I think so. Do you want a 3-mana 2/1 that draws you a card and loses you a life? Sure. I mean, I'd play that card. Do you want a 3-mana 2/1 that XLs their graveyard? Probably not. So if it was just this card with the first mode, you'd play that card, and again with the second. So the third mode, it's kind of garbo, but it's good to have as a freebie, whereas the first two modes are actually worth the card. So this card's just good, right? Not a bomb, but just a solid card you always play. If you're in the needing things to sack, go wide type deck, it's 2 bodies for 3 mana, it's just value. Yeah, this card's good. Not like a slam first pick necessarily, but just a solid card you would always play. Never caught this card. Destroy each non-land permanent with CMC 2 or less. So that includes your things and tokens. We're not blowing up very many artifacts and enchantments, as we've already discussed. So this does let you turn your pest army into mana and life because of their own death trigger. So maybe that's a thing to generate a bunch of mana off of your pests, but it costs 4 to do that. So I mean, doesn't seem very good to, you know, try and sack 7 things to net 3 mana. I don't think this card is good. I don't see like sweeping their bears being that great at 4 mana. But it does get all of the tokens though. So like you can get their 4/4 tokens with it, you can get their 3/2 tokens with it, their 2/1 flyers, etc. Maybe that makes it okay, but this kind of feels more like a board card to me. But maybe sweeping their tokens and getting mana back for, I don't know. Like how much mana can you generate off this? Maybe 7 things? Like 3 of theirs, 4 of yours because you planned for it kind of thing? And what are you doing with that 7 mana? I don't know. There's probably a way to make this good, but it doesn't seem like the card you just want to throw in your deck. Seems like it requires a lot of building around. And even then, it seems difficult to get it to line up correctly. To like have the expensive thing to play after wanting to kill the exact right CMC things in play. And just the only thing I'm seeing that makes this like slightly reasonable is that like you have pests. But yeah, I'm not into this one. I think I do like this one though. So this one combines really well with the 2 mana instant that sacks for pests equal to power. So like this seems like a really easy way to make 11 1/1s. You also can just play it and let it sit there. It doesn't like eat your creature during your upkeep like the other one does. There's an uncommon that makes you sack during upkeep. This one is only when you try to put it in combat. So you can play it on curve and then set up the drawback, right? You don't have to like immediately be ready for this drawback. You can kind of wait for a second. But it seems like with the synergies, pretty easy to make this card busted. There's just so many ways to set up the expendable creatures, and there's a way to get value for its size in general. Plus there's a common in green. I think it's a common, it might have been uncommon, but it's just instant target creature gains trample, draw card. So like giving this trample could be very powerful. Especially at instant speed, right? Yeah, so I'm a fan of this one. I say take it early and build around it. If Witherbloom is good. Maybe if Witherbloom is like the worst school or something, maybe that's a little ambitious to like take it first and force it, but it seems to me like this is powerful enough to build around and want to. I'm at least going to try if I open it. Pack one, pick one, I think. Same with this card we already looked at. I think this one's powerful enough to just go for in pack one. Auric Lore Mage. 4 mana, 3/3. Okay, it's fine. Search for a card, put it in a graveyard. If it's instant sorcery, make him bigger. Huh. Do we get another value for putting an instant sorcery in your yard if we're black? Seems like the stuff you'd want this effect for would be Prismari, but we are getting the counter for the Silver Quill stuff. I guess at certain points of the game, certain instants and sorceries in your deck get bad. Oh wait, you can put anything in your yard. So you can cut your lands if you want. You can start cutting your lands. That's not completely unreasonable later if, like, once they've got a blocker that can stop this, if you don't want to make it a 4/4, you can just try and improve your draws a little bit, like end step, eat a land, upkeep, eat a land, that kind of thing. Like when there's only, 12 cards left in your library, that kind of little like niche edge. This doesn't seem busted or anything, but I do like the ability to be able to put a counter on itself for the Silver Quill stuff is pretty good. And you don't really need to make your 4-drop much bigger than a 4/4 or a 5/5 for it to be good. It is a little slow in that regard. But there's probably also some synergies that I just can't think of off the top of my head that putting things in the yard is very good for black. Like maybe there's a reanimation spell I can't remember. You can put your fatty in there. Or again, just cutting your lands or pumping this seems good enough to play the card. But I wouldn't pick it early, I don't think. It's not that good. We've already looked at this one. This one's kind of a weird one to analyze. Didn't really care for the back half. Like, it's fine. I just don't like that it doesn't get instants and sorceries. And then this, each mode, none of these modes are insane. So just the combination of all three of them together might be good enough. I wasn't super high on this one. It does seem fine though. This one I like a lot. We've already looked at as a learn card. This card's great. Always play this card if you're black. Let's see here. Choose target creature. When it dies, you search for a creature less mana and put it into play. So you can choose their stuff. The when this creature dies this turn stuff is always so sketchy. Like when do you gotta wait until it's like a guaranteed thing that the creature's dying? But like if you're trying to play it on their guy, like sometimes you can't guarantee that, like I guess when they're out of mana, but like I think that guy's dying this turn, but maybe they got something, I don't know. You know? I don't know. This isn't my style, this kind of card. It's just it's very situational. Requires a lot of effort to make powerful. It can do powerful things, certainly. But I don't know. This kind of seems more like a constructed cheaty combo kind of card than a value card in limited. But maybe you have creatures that are 3 or 4, 2, 3, 4 mana, something that are really, really good that you just want to put into play on a consistent basis. And this allows you to do so. Especially since in black-green you have a lot of control over when things die. Being your own things you're sacrificing or your expendable creatures you're putting into combat all the time, and the black kill spells killing their things. So if it's going to be in a color combination, it wants to be in this one, right? But this is a very like, can you put something busted into play kind of situational card. So it's a very like, what's your pool look like kind of argument on this card. Can't just say it's going to be good and take it. Sedgemoor Witch. 3 mana, 3/2 menace. Okay, that's already good. Ward, pay 3 life. Okay, so also good. So it's going to get him for 3 no matter what. Yeah, Village Rites is in Archive, and then there's also like a 2 mana Village Rites at Uncommon that can scale up for how many creatures you sack? For Magecraft triggers and whatnot. So Menace, pay 3 life. So I already like this card even before the Magecraft ability. It's already good at just Menace, Ward, pay 3 for 3/2. When you Magecraft, you get a Pest as well. I think this card's great. This just enables all of the Witherbloom stuff, this Magecraft ability, and then it's also a very good threat on its own on turn 3, even later in the game. As long as they don't have like 2 X4s, you can attack with it. Yeah, I like this card a lot. This card is definitely first pickable, I think. Very strong. It's also good enough in Silver Quill too. You don't need to care about these being like pests as opposed to the 2/1s. They're still good. Still good. Yeah, this card's great. We've already seen all of these. All of these. Seen this one. We have seen all of these already. Okay. On to red. We've seen Blade Historian. We have not seen Conspiracy Theorist. Okay, so 2/2 for 2. Okay, I already like it. When it attacks, you can pay 1 to rummage. Okay, that's fine. That's good already, just these 3 things, right? What's the last thing? You discard non-lands. You can exile 1 of them from your graveyard. Okay, so that means it triggers the Lorehold stuff. That's good. If you do, you may cast it this... Wow, this card's incredible. Especially if your deck is cheap and efficient. Yeah, I like this one a lot. This is very good. I think this is probably good enough to first pick. It's good in Lorehold. It's going to be good in Prismari as just, you know, a value card to fix your hand and get to your big things. But it's probably going to be incredible in Lorehold as this also triggers the Lorehold stuff. I mean, you can't really get your 2/2 in very many times, but you don't really need to get this in very many times for it to be worth the 2 mana, right? Like, it's already worth 2 mana as just a bear. And then, yeah, this card's great. Already seen this one. We have not seen this one. Draconic Intervention. 4 mana sorcery. You also have to exile an instant sorcery from your yard. Okay, so that might require some setup. It shouldn't be too difficult. We get X to each non-dragon, whereas the CMC of the card you exiled, okay? And it exiles the creatures. And it exiles this. So getting a 2 or a 3 in the yard, pretty easy. And this dealing 2 or 3 damage is probably good, so if you need this to be bigger than that, you can, you know, arrange for that to be the case. Seems like the creatures max out at 5 toughness, for the most part. Except for like a couple Quandrix things, maybe. So, and we know that, at least for the very least, Prismari is going to have sorceries and instants that cost more than 4. Lorehold might not, but yeah, this card seems fine. I would totally play this card. I think just always, right? I mean, maybe not if you're a low-to-the-ground creature deck in red, but I don't know if that deck exists. I think there's a red-blue Magecraft deck with like 2/2s and 3/3s that's aggro. So that deck might not want this, but I think the bigger Prismari and the Lorehold deck wants this. I think. Efreet Flame Painter. 1/4 double strike for 4. When you connect to player, you get to cast an instant sorcery from your yard without paying its cost. And then it goes exile, so you can't keep doing it. But you get, if you connect with this, you get 2 triggers. This card seems busted if you can get the big expensive things in your yard and then connect with this. This having no evasion is kind of obnoxious, but they need an X3 to stop it, right? Or I guess like a 4/2 would trade with it. If you could give this flying somehow, this card could be just out of control. But this seems worth the effort, I think, to try and set up, probably because the powerful top end sorceries and instants are so powerful in Prismari. I guess in Lorehold it also counts as a Lorehold trigger. It's probably fine in either deck, but I would assume it's the most busted in Prismari Go Big. But even then, you still need to get it in. Could be a lot to ask. But it's a good blocker, and they have to leave stuff back to block it so that you don't get the busted trigger. So, I mean, I'm assuming you just always play this card. Because, I mean, it's good enough in Lorehold, right, to just play. Yeah, this card's fine. I don't know how high of a pick of it is, but it can be very busted if you build your deck to make it busted. The getting it in part's going to be the hard part with this card, not getting the sorcery in the yard. That'll be easy. Fervent Mastery. This is the red alt cost. So it's either 5 or 4. So what do we get for 4? So wait, for 5 we get search for 3 cards, put them into hand, and then discard 3 at random. What? If we paid 4, they also discard cards and draw that many? What the hell? Oh, I guess the bottom one, the 5 part's okay because we are searching up our busted instants and sorceries. We don't really care if they go to hand or library necessarily, or hand or yard necessarily, because we have ways to get advantage from either. But still, it doesn't seem that good to me. Like, what do you need to have, like, some lands in your hand before you play this? The 4 mana one just kind of seems awful. Yeah, I don't like this card at all. I have a feeling that the effect for searching your library though is going to be good in certain Prismari decks, but the drawback on the 4 is pretty bad. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. Don't think I'll be playing that card. We've already seen all of these, all of these, all of these. We saw this as a white card, okay. Green. Not seen this one yet. Accomplished Alchemist. 4 mana, 2/5. It's a mana dork. And it's also a mana dork for the life you've gained. So in Witherbloom, you could probably generate absurd mana with this. Like, you could just play the 2 mana, gain 4 sorcery, and then all of a sudden you net 2 mana that turn, right? I guess 1, because it's already giving you 1. Huh. But there are a lot of ways to gain life in Witherbloom. Like, a lot. So this could do really busted things for mana. It's also a good blocker while you're trying to ramp up. This card's okay. I wouldn't say it's a really high pick, but it's certainly a card you will play. It also fixes if you wanted to be 3 color. Like if you're a Teamer maybe, or Abzan. Or maybe there's a 4 or 5 color green as well. It doesn't really look like there is, but I suppose there could be. And this would certainly be a card that would be wanted in that deck. Yeah, this card's good. It's not insane though. I think this part's gonna be hard to make really busted, but it might give you a little bit of extra nudge every once in a while. We've seen all these. We've seen this one. We've seen this one. We have not seen this green creature. So it's a bear with Magecraft that gets a +1/+1 counter on it when you Magecraft. Okay, that's pretty reasonable already. And then we can pay 6 to double the counters. Holy crap. So when we get to 6, let's just say we've Magecraft twice. So we have a 4/4 that we're making a 6/6, and then the next time we do it, it's going to be just insane, right? It's going to be a 10/10. This card seems great. It's not a bomb by any means, but it is going to do bomby things in the end game unanswered. But you just always play this in your green deck. There's no reason not to play this card. Just always going to be good. Yeah. But you don't really need to build around. You don't need to like, oh, I can't play this because I don't have enough Magecraft. No, that doesn't really matter. Just play the card. I mean, assuming you have at least one way to put a counter on this, right? You would play it. Maybe with only one, you've got better bears. Because you do need at least one counter on it for this ability to do something. So that is worth pointing out, I suppose. Like, say you're the green-black deck that doesn't have any instants or sorceries, but I don't know if that deck exists. Doesn't seem like that deck exists. This is a meme card, right? So the creature kind of you already kind of need the creature to be a little bit sizable to begin with, right? So if you can make X2, that's 6 mana. So say you're hitting a 2/2, that's what, 8? You think you always play this? I don't like that it's sorcery. I don't like that it doesn't give trample or evasion. I think it's just bad, yeah. If it was instant, it would be good. Because you would kill them with, like, whatever creature doesn't block, but this is just, I mean, like maybe if you can do it on a trampler. Yeah, exactly. You need to do it on a trampler or a flyer. So it's playable if your deck has that requirement, but I don't like it. I'd rather just play a creature. This card's great. We already saw this as a lesson. We've seen all of these already as a blue card and MDFCs, blue card, black card, black card. I've not seen this one. So this is the alt green card. So 6, you get search for 4 basics, put 1 into play. So wait, we don't pay the 4. It's 2 onto our battlefield and rest in our hand. So we get 2 to hand, 2 to the battlefield. And if we didn't pay 6, they get 1 of them. Unfortunately, there's no land walk in this format. You can't give them a forest to forest walk. So if we're paying this for 4, we ramp them once, we ramp ourselves twice, and we get the 4th one to hand. I think most of the time that's probably going to be good enough at 4. Although they get the ramp first, like they get to use them, they get to untap with an extra land. But you are also taking 4 lands out of your deck. Like that's not insignificant. Four lands out of the deck is really substantial in terms of fixing future draws. Right? Like on turn 4, say you only have 13 lands left in your deck, you're going from 13 to 9. Like that's a pretty significant change of like quality of top decks, right? Yeah, it does seem good on 4. Assuming they're not doing something incredibly busted with their extra mana on turn 5, which is certainly possible. So you kind of got to be careful like what you're playing this against, I think. If you're playing against like maybe black-white, like it just doesn't matter if you give them a land on that turn, probably. But Prismari, it might matter a lot. Like if they're trying to ramp into their 8-drop or whatever. But I think I do like this card. I love the value of getting 4 lands out of my deck at that point of the game. And like I mean, I think this is probably best in Quandrix, right? Quandrix has the top end stuff to do, whereas Witherbloom maybe less so. But we'll see. I think I'll be playing this card at some point. Already seen this one. Okay, so I think now we just have the mythics left. Let's look at the dragons first. Yeah, it does seem really good in blue-green. Okay, so we got the Witherbloom dragon here. So these are all mythic. I think 1, 4, 2 5s, 2 7s. Okay, so Witherbloom 7. So this is like the most expensive Witherbloom thing we've seen. Most of the Witherbloom stuff is cheap or cheaper. Like 4, kind of tops out at 4. It looked like most of the stuff. This one's your favorite. I haven't really looked at all of them enough yet. They're all got complicated abilities. So this one you get a pest every single upkeep. I already like it. I think it'd probably be good enough without even the last ability. Just a 7 mana 4/4 flyer that makes a 1/1 every single upkeep is pretty good. Because I mean, even if they untap and like sorcery speed kill it, you got their kill spell and you get a 1/1. Plus Witherbloom has a bunch of life gains, so the bottom ability, I could see activating the bottom ability at least once in a game, maybe twice if you needed to, and activating that ability once could be really, really good, almost like a time walk type effect, allowing you to dump out your hand before your opponent can do things, like before they can answer all the things you just put into play. Because they're going to want to answer this dragon, and then maybe you can play 2 other things with the lands. And I guess that would involve some card draw first, but I do see the bottom ability being relevant is all I'm kind of trying to say. Like, yeah, especially if you're Sultai. If you're Sultai, like, certainly untapping your, like, 8 or 9 lands or whatever because your Quandrix, like, is going to be valuable. Yeah, that last ability is certainly relevant. You're not going to be activating it more than once or twice, but yeah, this card's very good. Very good. Slam first pick for sure. Okay, this one is more of like a fair balanced take on Dragon. It doesn't, like, I feel like the black-green one's going to just win you the game, whereas this one is less game winning, but very efficient. always play it kind of card. You can get the synergies with the treasures for your big top end things, so this allows you to ramp into your 7s and 8s pretty well. Even just giving you 1 more mana as a mana rock, because I'm assuming if you're Prismari, lots and lots of your cards are going to be instants and sorceries, so turning your treasure into an actual mana rock for those spells is pretty good. Especially if you have other ways to make treasure. Yeah, it ramps hard, because there are other ways to make treasure in Prismari too, so like, if you just stick this guy, and you already had a treasure before it, the next turn you might be untapping with like 6 or 7 mana on turn 5. So, yeah, that's pretty solid. But it doesn't feel as like bomby as the other one. But it could be very, very synergistic with what you're trying to do. And even if it's not, it's a 4 mana 3/4 that gives you a mana. So it just can't be bad. But slightly less, like not bomby like this one. 2/5 flying double strike. Okay. So it connects for 4. This one's really odd in that all 3 effects are good, and you have to give 1 to the opponent if you want to use it. So like I can see giving them a card to lose a life being kind of likely. Giving them a chump blocker for this kind of annoying. And it seems unlikely you're ever going to want to put a counter on each of their creatures. But I suppose it's possible if they just only have 1 or 2 creatures, or obviously 0. If they have 0, obviously it's a slam pick there. I mean, I don't know, I don't like the idea of giving them a chump blocker for this. Seems kind of to defeat the purpose of attacking with it, but you could just like blank this attack by giving them the 2/1 and then you net the card or whatever, or you net the Lord the Team stuff. So it's going to be doing relevant good things. It's just going to be a little tricky to get these modes lined up correctly with which one you're giving them all the time. Yeah, you can grow your team in attack and give them a chump blocker, sure. You can grow your team in attack and give them a card. You can give, you can give them the pump their team if they don't have any things, and you can get the other good effect. It's like, so you either choose 2 or you choose 0. You can't choose 1, and when you choose 2, you have to give 1 to them. So, but it's May, so you can just choose nothing. Yeah. You can't choose 1 for yourself. You have to choose 1 for each of you, or 0. So it's obviously very good. It's going to create some tricky gameplay in, which modes go where and whatnot. But that's good. That's, it's a good sign that the cards require thought when you play them. So the blue-green one, 5 mana 4/4 flying trample. Okay, that's already serviceable. When it comes in, you double the number of counters on target creature you control. So for the counter go wide stuff and just like having lots of creatures with counters, that was a Silver Quill thing, but the token for Quandrix is the Fractal, which always has counters. Yeah, it's the Fractal Lord, sure. So it comes in and just like doubles one of your fractals. And then when it attacks, you base power and toughness all of your creatures. It's May. Okay, you may change base power all your creatures to 4/4. Or whatever this happens to be at the time. So that's also insane with fractals because they just become 4/4 plus their counters. So if you don't have any fractal synergies, this is still just a 4/4 trample. And then it's upside from there. So this card's just great. It's not as bomby as like the black-white or the black-green if you don't have the synergy, but you should be able to get some number of fractals, I would assume, if you're blue-green. There's no way to splash this into Silver Quill really for the overlap, like if this was a Lorehold card or something. But yeah, I think the 2 black ones are the best so far, but both of these are also very good. They're all just going to be good, right? No matter what. Okay, we have another 7 mana one. 5/5 Flying Vigilance Haste. Okay, that's pretty good for 7 mana 5/5. You probably just play that card. 5/5 Flying is a really good blocker too for the Vigilance. Like all the creatures are small in this format. Hey, what's up, Chrono? So when it attacks, we look at the top 7 cards. We can cast an instant or sorcery, which we should have because we've built around it. You can cast one of them assuming its CMC is 5 or less. Yeah, this card's busted. So if you put this in your Jeskai, like Prismari Lorehold deck, you can't get the really busted Prismari stuff unless you somehow make this creature bigger first. But there are a lot of powerful ones at 5 and less. Card draw, removal spells and stuff. So if you're just Lorehold, I wonder what cards you're getting with this. Because Lorehold does want to play a lot of creatures, I think. We've got a lot of the powerful stuff going on with Lorehold as creatures. So maybe this gets slightly better if you put it into Jeskai than if you're just Lorehold, but I'm not real sure on that. Yeah, there's red burn spells, sure. But I mean, this one, just the stats alone are kind of bonkers for this format, I think. Like, you love axe them right away, and then you have a 5/5 blocker in the air, and that's going to be really good no matter what. Yeah, I don't know how to like rate these necessarily, but they're all very good. It seems like these two are a little bit weaker than the other 3 in terms of just raw power, but these ones are just going to be efficient. Like, this one has very efficient stats. It's just an air elemental, the trample. So that means the Inklings aren't very good chump blockers for it because of the trample, right? So then we just have the rest of the mythics to go, I believe. Yeah, the 7 drops are supposed to be 3 color. I mean, sure, that's completely reasonable. Yeah, like, it would make a lot of sense to add blue to either of these because the blue top end stuff is so busted, which lets you take advantage of the untapped mana and the tricking things. Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Whereas this one seems good in just black-white. These ones seem good in just their own guilds. I mean, obviously these are going to be fine, but to maximize these, it does kind of almost seem like you want blue. Oops. Okay, the rest of the mythics. What do we got left? Okay, Blot Out the Sky is a new one. X tapped Inklings. If X is 6 or more, you get to destroy all non-creature, non-lands. Which we've decided there are not very many of. There are only 17 of them. These are all of the non-creature, non-land cards in the entire format. So that part isn't super relevant, right? You're just going to get a couple equipment, maybe? Or a mana rock. So if you cast this for 6, is that good to have 4 2/1 flyers? I think so. Is it good at 3? At 3, it's just like a bad Windrake. At 4 is pretty good, right? 2 2/1 flyers for 4 mana. That's good. Yeah, I think this card's just gonna be good no matter what. It's good on like every casting cost. Yeah, it's good at 4 and above, and at 3, like, you can play it if you have to at 3. So this card's just solid. It might be kind of... Oh, they come in tapped, is worth noting. So to cast it for 3 to get a chump blocker doesn't work. I mean, you're playing it at 3 to if you need a 2/1 flyer to like not die to their flyer on the following turn or something. I don't know, but it doesn't. They can't chump block right away. That's what I was just saying. So like, wait, no, yeah, tapped. Okay, tapped. Yeah. But yeah, this card's gonna be good at like basically every casting cost, and you just always play it, right? Is it slam first pick? I don't know. Maybe. It does seem pretty powerful. Like, a lot of decks are just gonna fold if you cast this on, you know, X is 5 or X is 4. It's kind of hard to race 8 power in the air. Body of Research, we've yet to see this one. Make a library-sized fractal. So when you have trip green, trip blue, how many cards are left in your library? Maybe upper 20s? Maybe, but probably low 20s. So it's good. It should be a lethal-sized creature no matter what. I mean, in the very end game, it's at least like a 2-turn clock lethal-sized creature, I would assume. There probably aren't many games you're trying to cast this with like 5 cards left in your library. Yeah, it needs the trample common. The trample common seems kind of insane in Quandrix to me. There's a few different ways to make like a really tall creature. But yeah, I don't know if I'd take this one very high. It's just the casting cost is kind of brutal. But I mean, if you are in Quandrix, you should be able to pull this off. I don't know if it's bad. It's just not the kind of card I would want to first pick. But it's just like, I would certainly play this card if I was already Quandrix. Why would you not play this? It's like an abyss. Like, it's just a card that they have to answer or chump block every single turn. Like, it doesn't have to have trample. How good is a 20/20? A 20/20 is good. Like, a 20/20 is very good. They have to chump block it every single turn or they die. So it doesn't have to have trample, it just wants trample, you know? So I don't think this card can be bad, I just don't think it's great. Like, I think you just always play this if you're Quandrix. Because they're going to be able to get to the mana. It's going to be a reasonable top-end card no matter what. Yeah, exactly. It's like a B. Like, it's just a card you play if you're Quandrix, but you don't pick it highly because the casting cost is so restrictive. Like, I don't think you want to pigeonhole you're pigeon yourself into Quandrix for this card, pack one, pick one. But if you are Quandrix, you play this card for sure. Yeah. Well, the land fractal one doesn't cost, you know, all of that colored mana, so it's a little bit more reliable to cast on 6 lands. Crackle with Power deals 5 times X to X targets. So if we're casting this for X is 1, we get to deal 5 to 3 things. Or sorry, 5 to 1 thing. We do X is 2, that's 8 mana. We get to do 10 to 2 things. Yeah. Well, it makes sense that the mythic's better than the common. Not a whole lot better. Oh, you're saying, yeah. I got you. The land one's not a whole bunch better. I mean, the library one's not insanely better than the land one. It's better, but not a whole lot better. Yeah, I agree. But it is significantly better in that you would take it higher. You know, like, the casting cost doesn't make it that much worse. But you're also right that the power and toughness doesn't make it that much better either. It's usually just going to be the biggest creature on the board by a long shot either way. So I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't want to cast this for 8 to deal 10 to 2 things, but I guess it does go face. So maybe I do want to cast this for 8. Because I guess at 8 it's just a win con. At 5 it's okay. At 5 it just deals 5 to something. So it's like a lava axe, you can go face or creature. So yeah, I guess it's good for that reason. At red 3, it's lava axe wherever you want. If you can get to 8, 2 10s is pretty good. And I don't think you're supposed to expect to get to 11, but you might in Prismari or in Teamer. Yeah, it does seem a lot like the fire card. So we're casting this for either 5, 8, or 11. It's pretty unreasonable to assume to cast this for, what, 14 or whatever? Yeah. So this does seem like a card you will play. I don't think you pick it super high, though, because it's usually going to be cast for 5, right? You're going to use it for 5 as a kill spell, maybe to finish them. And, like, getting to 8 is a good goal, but I think a lot of games you're going to have to cast this for 5 to, like, not die to their creature or whatever. Yeah, the endgame mode is very powerful. 10 2 things for 8 is very good. And I mean, yeah, if you get to 11, like, surely 15 kills them, right? Yeah, it does seem good, now that I think about it a little bit longer. It's going to be very good in Prismari, probably, because they can get the big mana and Teamer, whereas Lorehold may be less exciting. But yeah, you probably just play it in that deck, too, as a 5 mana kill spell, or maybe 8 mana win the game kind of card. So yeah, this card's just good, you're right. Ecological Appreciation. Yeah, 11 just basically says win the game for sure. 15 to 3 things. Okay, so green 2X. Search for up to 4 different creatures that each cost X or less. The opponent chooses 2. They get to shuffle 2 back into your library. You put the rest on the battlefield. So you're getting 2 things in play, 2 things back in. But you have to pay like 5 or 6 to go get grizzly bears. This seems awful. Yeah, I don't think I'll be playing this one. You just need to go so big for it to work. It is, I guess, a mana sink in the end game for like Quandrix or something. But how much do you have to pay to make this good? So you need like X to be 4 probably, maybe 5 even. So you need to pay like 7 or 8 for this probably, for it to be good. And then you're choosing 4 different creatures and your opponent gets to choose which 2 come into play. It doesn't seem good enough for me. Like even when it's good, it's not good enough. Yeah, unless there's some sort of weird combination, but even then, your opponent can prevent that because they get to choose. So you need to have some sort of like overlap of combination, like some sort of like broken gifts pile type of thing that they can't pick the good answer because there's no good answer. I don't see that happening. Yeah, exactly. It's probably playable though in the I can make a ridiculous amount of mana on turn 7 kind of deck, but it seems like there's better options probably. It is a mythic. We've already seen these. We have not seen this one yet. This one seems kind of dumb. This one should just be like 7 mana, draw 8 or 9, right? This card seems really, really good to me. Because even if you're picking, I mean, you pick up 13 cards or whatever, you get to choose the best 7. Or I mean, even better than that, it's an instant, so you end step it on their turn. This card just seems like a really good win con in the end game. You think this card is horrible? No, I think this card is amazing. You just need the game to go long. Like, it's going to be really easy to draw 6 or 7 off this. And, like, draw 6 or 7 is totally worth this mana cost. Don't you think? This is, like, is better than draw a new hand if you cast it late enough in the game. It's like, you get, like, the best 8 or 9 cards out of 15 or whatever, you know? No, I think this card's gonna be good. There's also black-green mill we've already seen. Yeah, and like it's not gonna be drawing lands. It's gonna be drawing gas. It's gonna be drawing cards that you put in the yard. So yeah, dude, I think this card's incredible. It's just a very like end game, you know, bomby card. It's not something you reliably do in the early game. You can't do anything with it in the early game. So, but I would probably first pick this and just try to build some crazy like Sultai control deck around it. Yeah, and black green has life gain, sure, to like make it to the end game and chump blockers and stuff. I think this card's incredible. I mean, it is a very like Johnny power build around kind of card, but it shouldn't be that hard to get a control deck in these colors, I wouldn't think. I think this card's also busted. 5 mana 4/5, which we know is like huge in this format. And it lords the token that they make, plus any other residual spirits which we know there are many of. Gives them trample and haste as well. So whenever you're lore holding those 3/2s into play, they're actually 4/3 trample haste. Seems kind of insane. And then also, whenever your non-token creatures die, you can exile them. Oh no, you have to exile them. You get a token of it that's also a spirit. So this counts as the lorehold effect. The creature goes to the graveyard and then leaves it. So that triggers the other lorehold things. And you get another copy of that thing. It's also a spirit. And then it goes back to the yard to do other things with, maybe. To use the lorehold stuff again. This card is just incredible. Slam first pick for sure. It takes the synergies, but like this card is just so solid. It doesn't really need synergies to be good because this does things on its own that synergizes with itself. But then the synergies that this allows are also just insane. So this card is just real good. We've already seen this one. We haven't seen this Planeswalker. Oh, it's a 3-mana Planeswalker. Yeah, it's like a Broodmoth, sure. It's like a Broodmoth, but maybe better. Okay, so each other planeswalker, so that's just not relevant at all. Up 2 for Scry 1, that's good. Create a fractal. Okay, so her loyalty is so small though. So you could come in and make a 2/2 and kill it. So it is like a Grey Ogre if you need it to be. Okay, that's worth noting, I suppose. You're drafting all planeswalkers? Good luck. So you could go to 4, and then if you have the blockers already in play, then she could like make a 3/3 on the next turn and still be alive. So that's not that bad. And again, like at the very worst, you just bring her into play, make a 2/2 is an option. The -8 seems awful. Because you don't get to use any of the busted X stuff. Right? So none of the X ones work. But you could go get like the mythic that's, you know, trip blue, trip green. You could go get the 6 mana one that makes land size. You could go get some Prismari stuff that's pretty busted. So that it's not bad, but you need something in your deck to make, like, you can't just go get like a kill spell and be worth the -8 there. So this card seems okay, but it doesn't seem great. Like, you definitely play it. But it's not going to be like game-winning bomb usually, but it is very good, I think. Yeah, it's not great. Okay, so 8 mana. So here's a big, huge Prismari thing. It seems like 3 of the big, huge Prismari things have this ability, which is pretty cool. 4 divided, so like Pyrokinesis. Tap 2 permanents. Okay, so that can get lands if you need it to. And you get a 4/4 and 2 cards. Okay, this is like some sort of cruel ultimatum kind of thing. Just like tons of value, 4 different things. Do you first pick this? Maybe. Because the Prismari deck's goal is to do this. It's just to get these big instants and sorceries. Like, they have so many ways to do it. They have ways to give you treasure, they have ways to make them cost less, they have ways to cheat them. Yeah, it gives you a goal. This is a good first pick in like that you're trying to build the big Prismari deck. This is like a really good goal to have. So this would come down to like personal preference. Like, if you see this in your first pack and you're comfortable building the deck that does this, you go for it. If you're not, just take like an efficient monocolor card or something. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can discard it and want it in the yard for, you know, playing it for free or whatever. Plus, you can ramp into it, you can make it cost less, all kinds of things. So this is a good one. We've already seen this as a lesson. This is probably a first pick. We've seen these. Actually, we haven't seen this one yet. Okay, 3 mana, 2/3 flyers, so it's okay. Slightly better than Windrake already. Cast an instant sorcery from a card this turn. Costs 8 more if it doesn't target a creature you control, so that's pretty unlikely. But I suppose it's possible to get to 10 and play just like any instant or sorcery for 10 that costs 2. So it is doable to use this part, but you're likely using it on combat tricks on your own stuff for just their regular casting cost and 0. So this is a replacement effect, so it does not trigger the Lorehold Excavation thing. Although the first part does. Casting it does, but not the back half, so you only get that trigger once. This card seems okay. Seems like it requires work to be great, but it's going to be just a fine flyer anyway. And then eventually in the end game, it'll turn on all of your cheap instants and sorceries, but otherwise it's just doing combat trick stuff. So I like this card. It's not a super high pick though, I don't think. Like, I don't think it's a good slam first pick, oh, I'm going to build around it, it's going to be that bomb that wins me the game kind of card. But you do play it. You just always play it as a flyer. There's a kill spell that targets your guy. In black, I assume. It's like exile target creature you control, and for some reason I thought that one was like an alt cost. So let's... Yeah, it's uncommon? Okay. Oh, it's white-black uncommon? Oh, where's the rarity? This one. Yeah, good point. Holy crap. So it works with this one. And if you do it, does this allow you to do it during end step? It does, right? Okay. This turn. Okay, so you can zero on that kill spell. Where did it just go? How did I lose that already? There we go. So you can zero on this kill spell, use it during your end step, cast it for 3, and then just get it back, right? Oh no, only once, right, okay. But still, that's pretty good value to play that a second time. Yeah, I'm into that. It seems very good with this specifically, agreed. There might be another card that works that way too. For some reason I thought there was a black common that targeted your creature as well, but I think that just might be as an additional cost. I think that one's common, so I'll look at the commons real quick just in case. There's like a silver quill niche for this kind of thing. So this is a targeted spell here. This is a targeted spell here. This is a targeted spell. You could theoretically use this on your creature. This is targeted. I don't see the card I was thinking of. Isn't there a black card that's like additional cost, sack a creature for kill spell or something? Guess not. Even if it was though, that wouldn't target. I just thought it might be worded differently. There's a black-green one? Maybe it's uncommon? This one's kind of like that. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Additional cost, sack your guy. Yeah, but shouldn't it... Oh, it's uncommon then? Must be an uncommon. Here we go. This one is each player sacks a creature now. Yeah, I still don't see it. Oh, here we go. There's an additional cost to cast this, exile a creature you control. So this doesn't target your guy. This is the card I was thinking of, though. Yeah, the owl looks fine. Like, there are synergies that you're going to want to do. It seems mostly they're going to be in black-white, but maybe white-red had a couple. But this card will be good. It will be good as mostly just the flyer, but you'll get a couple things to work with this, and eventually in the end game, it'll just work with all of your instants and sorceries. Your cheap ones anyway. So that's worth taking. I don't know if it's worth first picking, probably not, but depends on the pack. Assuming this card's gonna be busted. Magecraft Drain 2, okay, that's pretty reasonable as a static. Up 1 is lose a life to... What is the card called? Strategic something? Strategic planning? Yeah, so lose a life for strategic planning is up. The -3 is Edict the Greatest Power. Okay, that's pretty good. Edicts are so much better when they have that line of text on them. Usually gets their best creature, but not, you know, one of their best creatures. Pretty bad against little flyers sometimes, but... Each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life, and then you get that 6 more times. So a total of 7 cards or 21 life in combination, somewhere around there. The 8 is pretty filthy, because if they just don't have a hand, it's just gonna like 21 them, right? So the 8 should be lethal, even if they do have a hand, I would think. Like, if they have 3 cards in hand. Yeah, plus you've been draining them with your Magecraft trigger. Like if they have 3 cards in hand, they take what, 12 and lose their hand. Yeah, the -8 is absolutely filthy. I mean, the up one being like draw a card is pretty good. And you're assuming you can afford the loss of life because of the Magecraft static. You don't I guess you don't really have to have instant sorceries to make this really good, but it does help. The static is pretty powerful. This doesn't really protect itself very well. Like, I guess like killing their biggest thing is okay, but like 6 is a lot. And you have to have blockers in play to protect this, right, when you play it. But it is very good. But you can't really play this without creatures in play, right? Assuming they do. They have more than one. Yeah, but it is very powerful for sure. For sure. 6 is a lot, but... And we've seen all these. I think that's it. I think that's the entire set. Everything. Love these tokens. Especially Inky Boy. So I'm going to take a little bathroom break, and then I'm going to come back and play some actual Magic, instead of just looking at Magic cards. What am I missing? Does what trigger on Storm? Which card? This one? Yeah, it triggers on the Storm. So like when you play one of those instants. No, I've done all the cards, Merlin. Oh, the archive cards, right. Okay, I need to do the archive stuff. But that's it, right? That's the last thing I haven't done. Yeah. I do need to take a bathroom break, but I will be right back. But we've done everything except for the archive. So we've done the entire regular set. So we'll look at these in a moment when I come back. So I like the Japanese ones a little bit better than the English ones in terms of the art, but we won't be able to read the Japanese ones, so there are 126 cards, but there's really only 63 different cards because there's an English and a Japanese. And I don't know if the rarity really matters on these. It'll matter in like how frequently you see them, but there aren't different slots in the pack. Like there should be one of these in every single pack. But you're obviously much more likely to see the uncommons and the rares than the mythics. But yeah, so maybe let's look at them by rarity. So let's look at them by... let's look at the uncommons first. That's not going to do it, is it? No, it's going to do all uncommons in the game. Set. So we can't do Strixhaven. Can we? How do we do the Strixhaven promo cards only with the rarity? Oh, there we go. Just add it to this. Can't remember the code for rarity R, so rarity U. That do it? Sweet, okay. These are all the uncommons. There are 18 uncommons. So this is a good cheap Magecraft trigger for sorcery. I mean, you probably just play this in most of the green decks, right? I guess it depends on how much instant sorcery you have as opposed to creature. So maybe not. Maybe it's less good because of Magecraft in this set. But love the art. Seems fine though. Probably not taking it highly over in-set synergy stuff, but it does have some synergy because of Magecraft. Yeah, it'll be cut for sure. Okay, this is very comic book looking. So this does get instants and sorceries, and it can exile the cards so they don't get to loop it. So this seems like really good against Prismari. Yeah, I like this one. Probably just play this if you're Silver Quill or Witherbloom. Doesn't seem like you'd need to pick it very high though. It's just like a functional card, nothing too insane. Yeah, seeing the hand's good. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of this card. Like I liked playing it in its own limited format. So I mean, but I didn't take it super high in that format either. The exile, like a Prismari huge sorcery, could be pretty good. This one's fine. This one is cool in that it always gets the mascots. Like this can steal the 4/4 mascot, which otherwise you might not assume this 1-mana threaten could do. I don't think that's going to be super relevant. This probably won't be very good, but it is noteworthy that it takes the 4/4 token. This card's obviously great if you're Quandrix or Teamer, or maybe Abzan. Probably not that good if you're just 2 colors, but still fine. Yeah, more ramp. But there are decks that want it, so certainly in those decks it'll be good. Yeah, we have seen a lot of ramp. So like, but I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to get this card. It's one of 63 and just one slot in the pack, right? So like, there are only 24 cards opened of this slot in each draft. But I guess you're more likely to see these 18 than the rares and mythics, so sure. Maybe you'll see one of these relatively regularly. This is nothing to write home about, but it is a Magecraft trigger. It's also a card that targets your creature if you have that white mythic owl. But this will just be fine. If you can get the extra synergies there, sure. I don't think I like this card ever. I guess maybe this format has less broken permanence. Like this doesn't let them play their big busted sorcery, so maybe it is good enough in some situations. Okay, so you see the uncommon ones a lot. I guess that makes sense, because there is one in every single pack, so I guess the uncommons you will be seeing frequently. So you might as well just act like the uncommons are like kind of part of the set, whereas the rares and mythic ones will be pretty infrequent, maybe. Yeah, it's probably better than it was in Kaldheim. I didn't really like it in Kaldheim though. Like I almost never played this card. I know it's playable, I just don't like it. This card seems better than it might normally because of how many instants and sorceries there are. But I would still be a little scared to main this often. But it's probably good enough to main in this format, whereas usually it isn't in limited. Usually it's a BO3 sideboard card. I mean, this card's just going to get main no matter what, right? Yeah, this card's just great. This also kills any of the tokens. Art's cool too. This card's just a slam include if you're black. I like the art here a lot. I don't know how good Almost Giant Growth is going to be in this set, but Magecraft, sure. It didn't seem like... Actually, I think there is an aggressive Prismari deck, so they would want this certainly as a way to pump their 2-mana 3/3s. Yeah. This will be okay, but it won't be good. It'll be fine, though. It'll be playable. I like this as a Magecraft enabler. A really good Magecraft enabler. This does do that, but the life gain you want in green, black, not in white. So maybe in Abzan this is good enough, but probably not. It's probably just if you want it for Magecraft, otherwise don't play it. Shock is shock. We know what that card does all the time. I mean, this card's always fine if you have bomby creatures to protect. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. If you don't have the creatures you want to protect, it's an okay combat trick, but nothing amazing. If you do have a good bomby creature to protect, it's probably worth playing one. funny, we were just talking about strategic planning because it's a mode on one of the cards, right? This card's okay. I don't like this one as much as cards that are similar to it, usually. I don't like that it's sorcery. This is good if you want the cards in the yard for some reason, though, which Prismari probably does. So I could see that being relevant for Prismari. It's got really sick art, too. Look at this art. Like a Journey album cover. You meant Duress? Yeah, Duress is probably pretty good against Prismari. But I don't know if you play that in the dark, though. Like, if you main this game 1 because it's good against Prismari, you know what I mean? Like, Silver Quill and Lorehold are still playing a bunch of creatures. Witherbloom still. So Thrill is in this as well. And Village Rites. Okay, so here's a counterspell that people won't play around. Maybe they will eventually, but probably not right away. I guess this can trigger the or this can counter the Magecraft triggers, which could be pretty relevant, right? That could be totally a thing, triggering Magecraft. Or countering Magecraft, I mean. Yeah, it is pretty interesting that you can get this card if you want it. Like, there's certainly decks that want this card. Like, this is going to be good in Lorehold, right? Like, to build your graveyard. Just puts 2 cards in the yard. And, like, this is an instant, too, so remember some of the cards that cared about the card in the yard being an instant or sorcery, so this allows you to check that box as well without even costing you a card. Yeah. Plus has sweet art. So several of these seem pretty good. A lot of them are just like Magecraft things, right? I guess they're all instant and sorcery. Okay, that makes sense for the theme of the set, I guess. So we can do rare now. Okay. Yeah, they literally all are instants and sorceries. Okay, I didn't make that connection at first. Okay. Huh. I don't think I'm very familiar with this card. I like this card, though. It's kind of like a green opt. I think it's a new card? Okay. I like it. I like the design. Being able to grab a land on turn 1 or something that's not land later. It's cool. I'm into it. I think I would just play this card in green like all the time, right? Because like the only thing that could be bad about it is if you're like in the middle of the game and there are a few like cheap spells you don't really want. So you could like kind of whiff on the choose spell part if it's like, oh, it's not powerful enough for where I want it in the game, but like that's fine. And like the good side of this is just really good to me is the versatility of, hey, I need some action, or hey, I need some land. Like you can do either thing for only a single mana, plus it's Magecraft. I'm on board with that. Brainstorm is Brainstorm. Do we have any shuffle effects for this? Like there certainly aren't any fetch lands, right? There's no Evolving Wilds. I don't remember seeing a lot, but maybe there's something in blue-red. There's some uncommon blue cards. So like this can mess with Brainstorm a little bit. Yeah, Brainstorm's probably bad. It's probably bad, but I'm looking for something. There might be something for it. I mean, this is a search, but not very good. I wonder if there's a blue common. You can kind of, with Curate maybe, you could Curate after Brainstorm if you wanted to bin the 2 cards. You could Scry with this card. Just Scry them away with your Battle Seer. There's also a Looter at 2. That's clunky, kinda. Yeah, this one. But yeah, Brainstorm doesn't look very good. You probably don't play Brainstorm. Check out this art though. Pretty cool. Got a double artist card. Always wonder how those work when two people are working on the same piece. Well, this art looks busy as all hell. Okay, so compulsive research. So we possibly want the cards in the yard for Prismari. This seems just completely fine. Nothing crazy. But you probably just play it as card draw and fix. Counterspell is counterspell, so holy crap. Just play this card obviously because it's busted. Counterspell seems good. I wonder if Dark Ritual is good. There's possible that there's some good Witherbloom stuff to do with this. Like that really, like the 4 mana 11/10 or whatever. But it's not usually worth a card in limited. Because it's just too hard to line up the... It's too hard to line up the value card at the exact same time, and it's just too easy for this to be a bad top deck. But sometimes the power level is high enough if you have the right cards. Like, there's probably some busted black thing to trick in, right? I don't know if this is very good on turn 1. But like this on turn 2 maybe? Like something like this, you know? Maybe makes Dark Ritual good enough. There was also a rare, right? The rare one's 11. Well, I mean, maybe if you didn't, you know, if you played a 1-drop like this on turn 1, and then on turn yeah, I don't know, dude. But yeah, Dark Ritual's not usually worth it. I wouldn't be surprised if someone finds a way though to cheat something in that's really good to make it earn its spot. This might not be good enough to main, but it probably is. Because there are good 4 and 5s that most decks are probably going to have something for this, but I could see this being kind of medium against maybe even like a Prismari deck that's not really putting expensive permanents into play. What the white one what? I don't know what the white one common means. So Doomblade is going to be good no matter what, right? Because even if they're Silver Quill or Witherbloom, they're going to have monocolor creature in the other color probably at some point. So it might be like slightly worse than it sometimes is because we're playing a 2-color set and they're like gold creatures that are black, but yeah, there's a white creature that kills 4 or greater, but that's for power, not for casting cost. The white card you're talking about. You're talking about this card? Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. So like this one can't kill like the busted blue rare, for example, like the one that draws cards. Whereas this Despark can. Like the common can't kill this, whereas Despark can kill this. Right? So there, I mean, it's similar, but this can also get, I don't know, there's like an artifact that costs 4, I don't know. I'm not saying it's good, I'm just saying it's probably main deckable. And Doomblade's certainly main deckable. This is also probably good enough to be main deckable. Even if they don't have things to kill with this, you can still 2 them, draw a card, get a Magecraft trigger. And sometimes you're going to get like, I don't know, 2 of their Inklings or something. Or like an Inkling in their face for 1 or whatever. I'm into this. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Ephemerate. I can't recall what the ETBs are. This does work with that owl. Yeah, I don't know. It needs help. It needs something. You can't just put this in your deck. You need it to work with something. Faithless Looting? Sure. Flashback counts as for Lorehold, so that'll be good in Lorehold, and dumping cards will be good for Prismari. Search for 3 planes and put them into your hand if they have more land. Well, the art is gorgeous, but this one's kind of a stretch. I do like that effect, but I don't like that effect off the top when I'm already a land up on them, you know? But maybe if I know it's in my library, I can plan around that. I don't know. I probably just wouldn't play this card. It's a little too risky, I think. The effect is very good if you can get it to work, but I don't think I'm maining this in most decks. But maybe I'm in like Lorehold control, and I really do want the lands. This card's fine. It gets a lot better if you have Magecraft. Yeah, you think God's Will is good, but not Gift of Estates, right? Like, I think Gift of Estates has potential, but it's too risky to play. Oh, you think Grapeshot's good? Yeah. So Grapeshot is pretty awesome with Magecraft, in that it is Storm. Yeah, God's Willing is good too. It's just efficient for 1 mana and Magecraft and stuff. Yeah, this does trigger each and every time. So if you say you play Storm 3, so you play this and it's got 3 copies, you're gonna get 4 Magecraft triggers off that, which is kind of bonkers if you have the right cards. So this is certainly a Magecraft like combo piece, because there are some really busted Magecraft triggers, especially when you do like multiples of them in the same turn. I think there's one that like lords your team, right? Well, you get more if the Storm things were instant and sorcery, sure, but Storm triggers off of every spell, so like Storm triggers off of... Well, if you cast 3 to get there, but maybe the 3 you cast weren't instants and sorceries, maybe they're creatures or whatever. Right? Because Storm counts everything. Yeah. But sure, say that you're only storming with instants and sorceries, then yeah, you play your first 3 things, so that's 3 Magecraft triggers. And then you play this and you get 4 more, so that's like 7 triggers off of 4 cards or whatever. Yeah, so Grapeshot will be really good in Magecraft, but that's about it. It's not very efficient as a kill spell. Sometimes you can get 2/1/1s with it, but it's sorcery, so you can't ever like do that on their turn, you know, to get the value of their plays. So you're gonna want to try and use that with Magecraft to make it good. I mean, this is just a solid card no matter when, right? This card's great all the time. Quandrix specifically wants ramp, so sure. Yep, more ramp. More ramp all day. Keep in mind, these ones are rare. This card's just always good, right? Yeah, I mean, you just always play Harmonize in green. This one... I don't know, I'm a little less high on this one than maybe even like the Duress. I don't know how I feel about this one. I kind of have to see the format play out a little bit before I know. Yeah, I was going to say like Duress might just be better because you're trying to get like their big sorceries and instants, right? Not their little cheap creatures. I don't know. I don't think Corrosive Grip is going to be good, because there just aren't enough artifacts and enchantments. I think this is just a board card. Lightning Bolt, obviously, main deck every time. And it's a Magecraft trigger. Not much else to say here. There are a lot of X3s, I think. It's going to be a really good removal spell. Same thing with Lightning Helix. It's in the right colors if you're Lorehold. You just play it. It might be good enough to splash if you're Jeskai, if you're already on some other card you're trying to splash. Yep. Both of these are going to be really good. Mana Tithe, hell yeah. Does this mean that this is going to be in Historic on Arena? Oh my god, I'm so excited about this. This is one of my favorite cards in the game. But this is the kind of card like I would always play in Limited and then probably board out after they see it. because they just play around it anyway and you don't have to draw it. But the first time you cast this card, it's generally a blowout. Especially when your opponents are trying to do big expensive things to tap out for. Like, you're just going to get so much value when you counter their 6-drop with Mana Tithe. Memory Lapse. This is another one of my favorite counter spells. Okay. It's probably good enough, yeah. I think I like Mana Tithe a little bit more, but this card is also good. You get a lot of big tempo swings for mana. Yeah, Memory Lapse is good. I just like Mana Tithe a little bit more personally as a card. But I like both of them quite a bit. Like, they're like two of my favorite counterspells in the entire game. I just really love the design on the cards. I like Force Spike a lot, obviously, as well, but Mana Tithe is so spicy because they don't expect it from white mana. Yeah, Memory Lapse is great, always has been. I'm just trying to think, like, how good it is in this. Sometimes you're going to be, like, hitting their instant or sorcery that's an X spell, and they just make it one more bigger later. I don't know. But yeah, it's a slam include if you're blue. You basically always play this card, right? It's just so much tempo. You just need to target something that costs more than 2, and you're winning. You're winning the value game with this. I like that they chose cards that were in the appropriate guilds instead of, you know, like trolling us with like Rakdos cards and stuff. I mean, this is just a kill spell, right? In Witherbloom. From Monarch to Mulch. Yeah, for sure. The Memory Lapse is going to get big spells a lot. There are a lot of big flashy things to get with it, with Memory Lapse. Regrowth. Regrowth's okay. Regrowth's not super powerful and limited usually. Because just most of your cards are average, so you're paying 2 to get an average card back. But you can flex it with bombs a little bit sometimes. And it does give you a little bit of versatility. Like, I sometimes like to play 1, but don't get too crazy with this card, right? Yeah, dude, I like all these arts a lot, or most of them a lot. This isn't a very good rendering of it, it's a little fuzzy, but like this Memory Lapse looks super fuzzy from this rendering, but this will look incredible in paper, for sure. I'm really excited about this Mana Tithe. Because, like, there's a justice scale behind him, right? And then there's just, like, all these coins are getting sucked, like, it's his personal energy is getting sucked away in coins. Or, I don't know, it looks awesome. I love the card. I don't know what the Japanese one looks like. We'll get to that eventually, I guess. We can look at the Japanese ones, but I kind of want to play a game before my stream's over, too. Let's see, we got Regrowth, Sign in Blood, draw 2, lose 2. Sure, I mean, you just play this. Does Silver Quill have any life gain? I can't remember. Witherbloom does. Okay, Stone Rain. Stone Rain's probably more of a sideboard card. Because this is like a one of in your deck is not a whole lot. We're almost done, Mercurio. We are just on the last few archive cards, and then we're finished. How you doing, Mercurio? Good to see you. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna play this one. It's possible you board it in against a greedy 3-color mana base. Oh, thank you so much for the gifted sub, Mercurio. You are a saint. I appreciate that. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, I don't think we play this one. I think maybe you can board it in against a 3-color mana base or something, but I don't think that's very one I'm very excited about. Swords to Plowshares auto include every deck, for sure. Every deck that has white. I don't need this sword. I got this plow. Tendrils. Okay, this one. So you do get the Magecraft triggers if you can go like 1 or 2 spells before this, but 4 is a lot to try to pre-spell before this. Maybe a Sultai deck could do it with like the Quandrix ramp. Yeah, I don't know. This one doesn't seem as cute as like the Grape Shot trying to get a whole bunch of Magecraft triggers. It just seems a little bit harder to pull off at 4. I have a feeling this one is not going to be very likely as a build around, but someone will try for it, sure. This one, I like this one. This is a card that any color can play as a Magecraft enabler that draws. I don't know. So you could be in Silver Quill and the Proliferate could get out of hand for sure. Yeah. So this might be a Silver Quill card. You know, for 2 life, 3 mana, pump the team kind of thing. Yeah, sneaky good for sure. This Proliferate's going to come out of nowhere and surprise people for sure. It is a rare though. Urza's Rage. Let me skip this track. A little too excitable there. Keeping it nice and easy. Okay. This one can deal 3 to anything for 3. So that's just good enough to play no matter what if you're red. And sometimes you get to deal... I guess if you're Prismari, maybe you can go for the big one. Prismari or Teamer. But if you're Lorehold, you're probably just casting this as a 3 mana, 3 damage kill spell. So it's like about as good as the other kill spell in the set. But sometimes it'll be bonkers in the Go Big deck. I don't think I've seen this one before. This must be like a new Modern Horizons card or something. So this could be good for the same reason the other Storm cards are good, if you can get the busted Magecraft triggers. And I think that... Yeah, it's from Modern Horizons? Okay, that makes sense. I feel like I've heard of this card, just never seen it before. I wonder, does this get play and constructed as like an anti-burn board card or something? I don't really know what the purpose of the application for this card is in constructed, but I think I like this as a Magecraft enabler, maybe, but probably not. I suppose it could do some interesting Witherbloom things. There's like the pump spell where you hit them for you get +X for life you've gained. And there's also a green creature that gives you mana for life you've gained. People don't play, it's a sideboard card for Storm. True. Yeah, I'm so out of the loop with Modern for sure. Yeah, I don't know if this has a whole lot of application. Like, there might be a Witherbloom application and there might be a Magecraft application. But other than that, it's kind of unexciting for the set. I don't know how to look at the Japanese version. I guess if you just look at the whole thing. So, can't really read them, but... Oh, did we even talk about Approach of the Second Sun? Oh, we didn't talk about the Mythics at all. Okay, so this Mythic seems like you could do some Jeskai things or some Lorehold things, I suppose. Lorehold seems like a grindy mid-range value deck. Prismari seems like it could do lots of different things, like with Jeskai. You could be control, or you could be some sort of combo thing. So you probably play this in some decks. I don't know if Silver Quill wants Day of Judgment, but you might board it at the very least. I generally like Wraths in Limited even if I'm a creature deck. Just because of the power level when it is good. Sometimes it rots in your hand, but sometimes it's amazing. Teferi's Protection. The art is gorgeous. IMO. But don't know if I like the effect in Limited. It seems hard to get value. Like, it seems like it's kind of just a fog for the most part that can maybe gain you a little bit of value against removal, but it's very situational. Doesn't seem like the kind of card you just want to throw in your deck. Got very meh feelings on this one. Yeah, it blanks removal, but it's not super busted. You could get like some very niche busted scenario, but it's not going to be the card that's reliable on a consistent basis. I do love this art though. This art's incredible. Blue Sun. Okay, so you probably just play this in your Quandrix and your Prismari decks because they can generate lots of mana and you want the effect. So I'm into that. I don't know if it's a first pick. It might be though. It's very powerful. You can also use it to deck your opponent. Yeah, you never deck and you can also deck them. So this card is just gas if you can go long. And it seems like both of the blue decks are trying to go long, so I would assume that this is a good first pick. Or at least close. Yeah, Mythics. Mind's Desire, are you kidding me? I can't believe this is in a limited set now, but this seems hard to break. but maybe, again, just the big blue decks can do it. Just build up to one turn where they get like 4 Storm on this. Yeah, it's very cool art. I like that the staircase is kind of coming out of her eye a little bit there. Very Escher. I mean, I know people are going to try and make this work, and more power to them. It's going to be difficult, but I think you can probably do it. Yeah, someone's going to live the dream with this one for sure. Time Warp, okay. This is just going to be like a card you just play all the time if you're blue. Nothing too insane, but always playable. Some games it'll be bonkers, some games it'll be explore. Crux of Fate. Do you try and copy the Time Walk? Maybe. Oh, this is the card that got her and Jason got person in trouble for the card or art stealing. Both of these images were stolen. The head and the body of this one. Destroy all dragons or non-dragons. So we have a Wrath here. Maybe you have one of the black dragons and you're wrathing everything but your dragon. That could be really good. But this seems like the card you just play all the time, right? It's like a Wrath. Maybe Silverquill doesn't want it. Witherbloom might. I don't know. Like, it depends on your deck build, I guess. Not always wanting a Wrath main. I do like the idea of taking this and a dragon. That seems pretty awesome, but 2 mythics kind of a lot to ask. Demo Tutor. Well, this is slightly better than most tutors we get for limited. I think this tutor might be good enough for limited. But you do need to have things you want to go get. If your whole deck is pretty similar in card quality, like, it might not be worth it to play this. But if you have like good removal spells and bombs, you probably play this. But it's not like the sick nasty like it is in Constructed. Any other mythics? Tainted Pact. Okay, so this is just good and limited in that you don't have very many duplicates. So this is like a reasonable card draw spell. Oh wait, no, it hits basics. So wait, maybe never mind. Maybe it's just unplayable. Because if you hit Swamp, then you either have to take the Swamp or risk that it whiffs when you hit your second Swamp. Yeah, it's just bad. I forgot about the basic land duplication thing. Yeah, this is a constructed card. I don't think you play this in limited ever. Just the fact that it whiffs on the second basic is kind of ridiculous. This card's just too random and crazy to be playable, right? I guess you can use it as a kill spell on their bomb and hope that it hits not a permanent. I guess maybe there are less permanents in this format than most limited formats. Yeah, it's kind of like a red Divine Gambit, sure. I guess this is playable as just like a desperation kill spell. But I don't really like it. I know this gets a lot of play in EDH because it allows red to interact with enchantments. It's definitely noteworthy that it's a red card that can kill an enchantment. But yeah, I don't know if I'd play this very high. It's okay. I don't know if I like it though. Like, I would hope that my deck quality is high enough that I don't have to play that kind of card. But maybe not. Maybe it's just a unique enough effect that you still want it. Okay, I mean, this could do filthy things, but I don't know if you're supposed to try and make this good. But you could. Like, I mean, there's a time warp, right? You could also be copying some of the really top-end Prismari stuff. Yeah. So, sure, this could do busted things. I don't know if it's a good strategy to pick this early and try and do busted things with it. Kind of seems like you need to luck into it and already have the busted stuff. Exile target card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. Oh, multiple choices because if you overload it, you get all of them. Okay, so you can pay 4 to cast any instant or sorcery in your yard. So that seems pretty busted with the Prismari stuff. Because the Prismari stuff, there's like 2 or 3 of big top-end things that you can just pay 2 to put them in your yard. So this card seems insane. And yeah, if you get to 8, you just do all of it. So this is obviously like a Prismari build-around. Yeah, it is amazing if you can get in the deck. But I could see wanting to first pick this and forcing it. Like trying to force the Prismari deck. Because this is just like insane win con if you get there. Like even if you just cast like one big thing early, it's really good. But if you can get to 8 and cast all the things, like this could just be filthy. You know? Yeah, I'm into this one. It's very archetype appropriate for this format. Channel? So are there busted colorless things to do? Not really. I guess there's the blue-green fractal lesson. So you could like pay 15 and make a 15/15 for 4, but that's not even really that good. Because then you can't really take much damage. There isn't... I don't think there's much to break with this. If there is stuff to break, sure, but a lot of the good Witherbloom stuff was like colored mana too. The 4/5 reach for 6, so you could play this on. You could play the 4/5 on turn 2. I mean, it seems okay, but not amazing. It would also let you put this back in your deck too, because of its ability. Mythics. Primal Command, Natural Order. Okay, so I don't remember seeing like a really crazy top-end green thing, but there are the big black-green things that are... But those big things only cost 4 anyway. I don't think there was other really busted green stuff to put into play. Like this would be fine to put into play, but it's like the same casting costs already. Right? The Mythic Lesson? Sure, okay, this... Yeah, that makes sense. The 7 mana Mythic Lesson. Sure, for channel. That makes sense. On turn 2, that would probably win you the game. Putting 3 creatures into play. This one I don't think has the requisite creature to trick in. I can't think of a green creature that you'd want to build your deck around to trick in this set. If I'm missing one, sure, then play it with that. Primal Command. This card's just gas, no matter what. This card's just always good. So much value. You just play this if you're green. The Mythic Dragon, okay. Sure, we can go get the 7-drop dragon with this. Yep. But you wouldn't want to go get the green-blue one, it's only 5. Maybe you do if you want the trigger. I mean, I think you just always play this one in green. Like, this is a quality first pick, I think. Probably over most cards in the pack. It's just so powerful. Yeah, Primal Command is real good. Okay, that's all the cards. We can look at some of the art if you want, but that one's kind of crazy looking. These are really cool. There's some of them that, like cards that I play and constructed, I'd want to get sets of, I think. But a lot of these cards are only like cube playable, right? But these would be really cool to put in your cube. The Putrefaction, see, this one looks awesome to me. Like, I like how the title's over here, vertical. Everything about these is awesome to me. And so we managed to get the whole set reviewed.